Friends, I'm completely and utterly out of control. I was obviously intrigued by two things. The limited edition 9-pan palette from the holiday Chanel collection in two parts, because we have the 9-pan palettes, but we also have the quad, the two blushes, a lavender colored mascara, and a few more items. So those are the two categories, but the standout purchase has to be the 31 Le Rouge lipstick that actually released 2 years ago, and I believe the matte refills released last October. Why did I buy a $200 lipstick? A $200 lipstick case that was brought up during the La Bouteille Louis Vuitton release with the pricing, Louis Vuitton lipsticks costing $160, and people were like, well, there is that Chanel lipstick. The main difference is that you don't necessarily have to buy this specific lipstick, which I will surely show you up close soon. Don't you worry, because Chanel has plenty of lipstick products that do not cost $195, right? You don't have to spend that much money to experience lipsticks from Chanel in a variety of types. For instance, you have the classic liquid matte dual-ended gloss side product, and you have here specifically the Rouge Allure. This is in $199 inattendu with the spring mechanism. Really cool, right? These don't cost $195, that's for sure. But the 31 Le Rouge, inspired by an iconic address, 31 Rue Cambon, the birthplace of Chanel creation. Inspired by the mirrors that line the legendary Art Deco staircase in Gabrielle Chanel's Paris apartment, the faceted square glass case of 31 Le Rouge is the most irresistible packaging in the history of Chanel lipstick. It's an exquisite piece. Again, it's all glass and metal. You have the Chanel logo here at the top, and of course, because it's glass, you could see clear. You have all the details here on the bottom. Made in France, a suggested shelf life of 18 months. It's magnetic, not only in the case, but also in the refill. So those are the metal parts to the base. It snaps in magnetically, and I have shade number 16, I believe. Let me double check here. Yes, 16 Rouge Talisman, which is a beautiful deep cinnamon shade, and it is a matte. I have my Gucci lipstick on standby. Do I need this color? Absolutely not. Do I need this case? Absolutely not. I couldn't help but be intrigued ever since learning about this Chanel lipstick case, and I'm happy I have it. It's absolutely beautiful. And you do get the felt pouch with the magnetic snap. Much better than that Louis Vuitton felt sleeve. You know, we at least got a little more something for our $195 price tag. I'm not saying you should buy this lipstick case. I bought it because I have been intrigued by beautiful makeup packaging, especially made of materials that are not plastic, but with glass and brass and aluminum. It's beautiful, and a piece that you can pass on, of course, if it doesn't break and you take care of it. That is my personal choice, right? You don't have to buy this lipstick, specifically this product, to experience Chanel lipsticks, because they have such a wide variety in several shades and finishes that don't cost this much. But because I already bought the Louis Vuitton lipstick, and now I saw and felt what a lipstick case of that design feels like, I got spoiled, okay? And when I learned that this was still available, well, you want to see it again? It's just, I mean, and I was surprised to find out that there's barely a scent, and I don't taste or smell anything when it's actually on my lip. We've seen this color before. I know it's like a deep, rich cinnamon, up my alley in terms of my favorite autumn colors, and I immediately thought of Gucci's Eliza Ginger. Also a matte lipstick, but I think, well, Eliza Ginger is a little more muted. Isn't that interesting? So there's a little more like boldness from Talisman in the Chanel lipstick, but they, I think, belong in that same rich cinnamon category shade. And the Chanel formula is quite nice. It doesn't feel as creamy as, let's say, Hung Van Gogh's lip. Oh, I have to swatch Hung's lipstick. Hold on, wait a minute. Wildest Dream is more of a brown nude. So you see that there's a little more red in Talisman. in Eliza Ginger is more of like a muted cinnamon, and Wildest Dream from Hung Van Gogh Beauty is more of a deep brown. And the Hung Van Gogh lipstick is special because it goes on creamy like it's a satin, or feels like a satin, but dries down to more of like a demi matte finish, whereas you can feel that matte right away off the gate when you apply the Chanel lipstick. They're all beautiful, as you can see. Yes, yes, yes. But I received so many compliments on this lipstick today, and I wore earth brown cargo pants to teach class in, and everyone was like, you look beautiful. I attribute to the lipstick because it brightens my complexion and just pulls everything together. And actually in person, it appears not as red on camera because the lighting, I think, bumps up the saturation a little bit. In person, it has more of like a true cinnamon look to the color. I absolutely adore it. And again, I have similar shades. I have my Gucci lipstick, my Hung Van Gogh lipstick, all of which I adore. I was just selfish and greedy. I was greedy for this exquisite looking case. Everything about it is outstanding. And more importantly, I love the inspiration behind it, inspired by Gabrielle's Art Deco styled apartment. It's like I'm there, you know, and right here, right at the staircase. And looking at the Louis Vuitton quickly, so we get this felt sleeve, which is a pain actually because it's so snug that I have to squeeze the lipstick out. But if we were to take a look at both, it's hard because you have the logo here on the cap, but if you didn't see the logo and had no idea this lipstick case existed, I don't think you'd be able to tell is Chanel. But in true Louis Vuitton style, you'll know immediately. You have the motifs here around the center, and you have the flower motif on the cap, and the refill is also magnetic. But I would say the magnetic base is a little more unique to Louis Vuitton because it looks like their flower motif, whereas on the Chanel, it's just like a standard insert. There's nothing particularly special on the refill base, right? So that's like 1 point for the Louis Vuitton lipstick. They're both heavy, for sure, but I could understand aesthetically how you would prefer the Chanel over the Louis Vuitton. But in true Chanel fashion, it's just more of like a demure approach to luxury, whereas Louis Vuitton is just like in your face. Like, this is a Louis Vuitton product and you need to know about it immediately. All right, that's the lipstick confession. Let's move on to this palette, shall we? A huge thank you to Unsolicited Eyeshadow, whose video I watched at length, full length, because he sacrificed his poor eyelids for us, okay? As he acquired all 3 of the limited edition Chanel Holiday 9-pan palettes. You heard that correctly. I just bought one, okay? Only one. 847 Daring Muse. We also have 848 the Singular, 849 the Space Traveler. I originally, based on Unsolicited Advice's video, had my eye on the Space Traveler because I agree with him. And overall, his thoughts on the collection, yes, this is not your mama Chanel. I was surprised by the finishes of these shadows because typically Chanel shadows are formulated to be soft, barely there, but just enough, which targets a certain demographic in the luxury beauty space, right? That's fine to favor those types of textures, but they kicked it up a notch for these 9-pan palettes, okay? And again, I had my eye on Space Traveler because that's the palette that houses the most duochromes and the sparkly finishes. But then I got to swatching it and I was like, you know, I like Space Traveler because it had the brown and black matte in there, and I thought that would be more versatile and practical. But when I started swatching the Daring Muse, which houses a warm brown matte and brick red matte, you might see at first glance like, I don't know, Alicia, because it appears disjointed. Surprisingly, this palette has nice flow to it color wise, and I quite enjoy the textures in here. I actually filmed an entire video at Bay's house, but I had to scrap it because there was lipstick on my teeth and I mispronounced Unsolicited Advices. I kept on saying I advice instead of just advice, so I decided to scrap the project. Let's refilm, do it right from the beginning. I'll still do swatches. We'll do 2 looks, and I'll come back on maybe a short or just film another dedicated video in showcasing the shadows. But back to unsolicited advice, seeing his videos helped me decide, and it was a great help. So thank you for sacrificing your lids for the greater good, because he applied all the shadows from each 9-pan palette, and you're like, well, how much does this palette cost? Why don't we go over the details, shall we? As I was checking out, the price was $160. Yes, you heard that correctly. 18 months suggested shelf life, and this palette is made in France. Limited edition. It is rare that Chanel releases 9-pan palettes, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, they also have the smaller quad for holiday, which looks like a mini Mineralscapes. You have like the soft sea foam, like almost gray lavender taupes. They're pretty. I swatched those, and they had crazy like a crazy shimmer sparkle effect, and I actually almost got it. I left it behind because I decided to get the lipstick, since the lipstick is something, despite how much more expensive the lipstick is than the quad, I thought I would get more wear out of the lipstick than I would out of that quad. That color story for me is more of like a once in a while gig. If I was in the cool muted tone mood, I would wear it, but I don't know how many times I would wear it. I'm still on the fence. I'm on the fence. I swatched the warmer out of the 2 blushes. It's okay. It didn't have, well, the swatch didn't look like it would have great impact on my cheek, so I left that there as well. I just bought the 9-pan and the lipstick, as you see, and went with this palette because I quite enjoy the textures in here. As you know what, let's just go through the swatches, shall we? But let's bring you in a little closer. First, we have this peachy duochrome that has a light pink flip in there. Isn't that, do you see the pink flip? It's pretty. Here we have what I call sterling silver from Decadence. Kind of looks like it, but this is your metallic silver. It doesn't have a duochrome effect in there. It doesn't have the same shimmer as you see in this shadow, but it's quite shiny and smooth. And next we have the icy blue transformer shade that mimics the astral shade in Mother's Mothership 1 Subliminal. It's like that topper texture where you see that icy blue flip that you can place on any shadow if you want to shift it to that blue. And it's smooth, it's pretty. They actually look better in person, I gotta say. Under a hard light, the twinkle for Chanel, my gosh. Our first matte of the palette, we have the Brick Red. The mattes are phenomenal. I used it all weekend, used the shadows all weekend, and look how smooth and color rich that is. But the diffusing quality of the texture is outstanding. It's soft. The pigment is there, right? But you don't sacrifice, or Chanel didn't sacrifice, that soft diffuse feel on the blend. Not quite the same as Byredo mattes. Byredo mattes have more of like a demi-matte finish. There's more of an apparent sheen. These are a true matte, but you can see how beautifully soft they are in the texture. Next, we have our sparkly turquoise. This is an all shimmer metallic, and look at that. It is absolutely gorgeous. Now this, you have more of a drier base with the blue pearl in there. And I say that because on the swatch, because you see how the base doesn't appear as it does in this turquoise, there's more of a matte influence in the base, that royal blue base, but the blue pearl I think is still present and provides lovely sparkle. And now we have our just stunning pumpkin brown. I threw this all over the eyes today just with my Chanel lipstick, and that was it. That was the monochromatic look of the day. We have our light golden champagne shade that doesn't have the same duochrome qualities as the first shadow we swatched, but you know, straightforward. What is that little lash there? Straightforward shimmer, great on the inner corner or all over the lid. I think I did that today. I applied the pumpkin brown, the peach pink flip all over the lid, and followed up with the light champagne on the inner corner. And this sparkly starry night black mimics the formula seen in the royal blue. You have that matte-ish base, but look at that silver sparkle. And I actually used the shadow to stamp along the lash line if I wanted a little more definition. So here are the shadows from 847, the Daring Muse. I like it. I was excited for it, so let's get rolling with this demo. I usually do more than 2 looks, but I'm fighting, well, that's a strong word to use. I'm working with the time, and it is now 3:47 because, again, I filmed this in a rush and I wanted to seize the moment and try to grab it impromptu. But again, there was just too much happening, too much I didn't like on the video, decided to scrap it. And I didn't want to wait until tomorrow because I didn't think I would have a chance tomorrow, an opportunity. So although it would have been better lighting, I think this is okay for what we can accomplish. I want to start off with the blues because if you're wondering how you can incorporate these shades, right? Because 160 is a lot, and I understand how you might feel, I don't know if it'd be worth it, because the Singular looks like a spring palette to me. There's some nice shades in there with the limes, the chartreuses, the taupe matte, right? If you want that contour shade for the lid, especially if you're lighter than me, you could probably get away with that taupe if you're my complexion as well. I just thought I would gravitate towards these shades more. I'll start with the royal blue, and I'm using my Yoshiki Bobo Collab brush that has that slope to the bristles, and I think an ideal brush to use with this type of texture. And I also agree with Unsolicited Advice, who suggested that you might want to approach this palette in a color blocking way to have the shadows showcase themselves and not necessarily want to blend everything together, but kind of place them next to each other. Because what I would like to follow up with now, since we have the blue on the center, is plop on that Starry Night Black as our smoky edge here on the lid. And again, I'm tapping because I don't want to create a ton of fallout here. These are the drier textures in Daring Muse, but they still move pretty well across the lid. And if you wanted to increase the impact, you could always apply with a finger tap. You could build up the color intensity, but we're going smoky right off the gate, okay? Taking my blender here without any shadow and just buffing the edges of the Starry Night Black so it has more of a diffuse look. And I also want to follow up, let's see, a smaller brush here with the black shade on the lower outer quarter. I want to bring this point out a little bit. This happens sometimes with my right eye. I can't quite get the angle high enough because I pointed it too low, but that's okay. That doesn't look too bad. And now I want to follow up with the silver. I think the silver will look beautiful on the inner corner, but I left a huge portion of it open since I wanted that to be like the main stage shine for the inner part of my lid. But if I wanted to close the gap more, I could pick up that blue, which has blue and purple pearl in there. Is not one-dimensional. It's actually quite pretty. And then I'll tap that over the sterling silver just to create a smoother gradient. And I could take the same brush and clean up the edges of that application. And this is what the transformer shade is for, right? As you've seen with the astral shade in Subliminal, or even some of Danessa's palettes, is to tap over that blue to brighten the center, to provide a little more dimension as well as sparkle, because that's what you're gonna get, okay? And with the turquoise, this is what I did in my last video. I'll take it now and have it across the entire lash line and just diffuse it all the way through to have that super nice haze with that color. And I'm bringing a little more silver. Now there is some fallout from the blue because again, you will feel that this blue here is a little drier. So you can either apply your eyeshadow first and then follow up with your complexion with foundation and concealer. I'm picking up a softer blender because I want to fix this black shadow. It's bothering me a little bit. Picking up a little just to refine that point because I want it to come out a little more. There we go. And have it appear smoother through the crease. That's not too bad. Okay, we did it. Now I know you want to see, do you want to see the red in action? I use my T8 and just go to town. I start on the outer lid and I just start whipping. But you see how much red I got on there? And you can have it appear softer by moving the brush over the shadow and continuing to diffuse the finish, right? So it can appear more lightweight, but you could definitely pack it on so it could look red. Taking a little bit on the lower part of the lash line. Okay, I love the haze. I know it's not for everyone, but just use a smaller brush, keep it tighter to the lash line so it doesn't drop as far. But if you apply your shadow in the same way I do, where you like a hazy lower lash line, then go for it. With the peachy pink on the lid, this is so pretty. It has lovely sparkle. Like, it's going like that on the lids, okay? Taking that light golden champagne now on the inner corner. And another way you could use the black, yes, the outer corner smoke, as you can see, also to stamp across the lash line, because it actually has pretty nice grip on the skin where the black doesn't disappear or look like a light gray. It actually has nice color integrity to it. And you can even see some of the silver pearls. So I know it might seem strange to follow up with the black where we have like the red on and we have the peachy pink duochrome on the lid, but it's a nice contrast. And you could do as I did this morning. Instead of using the black, I just use my product liner in wood, which is a brown, like a neutral brown, for it to be softer for a day look. But adding the black even to the red and peachy pink duochrome, I think is a nice touch. And again, you might not be able to see it on the footage here from where you are, but up close you'll be able to pick up that silver sparkle. And if you feel stressed about using the turquoise or the blue, one of my most favorite ways to incorporate a gem tone shade like this on an already warm eye is to nudge it here in the lower lash line. So not all the way across as you see on the first eye, but just on the lower inner quarter. And then I could take a little bit of that champagne and kind of wrap it around the top edge and just refine that application. And yes, let's apply some lashes and I'll be right back. And here are close-ups using 847, the Daring Muse from the limited edition 9-pan palette, Chanel's Holiday Collection 2825. What can I say? I do enjoy the 9-pan palette. If you were to ask me, is it worth these textures $160? I think you have to answer that question for yourself in realizing, is it worth you having these shades delivered in such a seamless, easygoing fashion? Because these textures are not typical of Chanel, right? We've seen, especially if you are an avid Chanel beauty customer, that you are familiar with the brand's formula, how it has changed over the years, or how the brand introduced new textures to their portfolio. This was quite the surprise. And I think what's unique about this experience is, even though they're sparkly, even though they have more twinkle than typically formulated Chanel shadows, they're still easy to deal with. The bandwidth is still low for me, where I could just open this up and apply any of these shadows solo, because I could just place the Icy Blue Transformer shade on its own over the lid, follow up with the Star Night Black. Or you can diffuse the turquoise all over, the royal blue all over. The silver might be tricky as a one and done lid moment. Disco ball, you know, disco fever vibes all the way, but you could probably treat it just as an accent shade like we did here for this look on the inner corner. You could even pop it on the lower inner part of the lash line, or have it on the center of your lid just as like a brief silver moment, and then Yes, of course, between Starry Night. So that could be your, what is that eye called? I forgot. The halo eye. You could create a halo eye with the silver on the center, Starry Night black on the inner and outer parts of your lid. That will be a great look. Or you could do as I did this morning, just apply this brown all over the lid and throw on the lipstick and you're done. Okay, that has been designated officially by my stamp as the one and done autumn monochromatic look for me. With Hun Van Gogh's blush in Possibilities, that was the look this morning. The Hun Van Gogh soft blurring bronzer in Straightforward with his blush in Possibilities, the Chanel lipstick, this brown, which I have somewhere in my collection. Absolutely. I'm not saying you need to buy this palette because of this brown, but because I had it at my disposal, this is the palette I had with me. That's the look I created and I absolutely loved it. And will I buy another 9pan? If I do, it might be Space Traveler because that is the palette that has the most duochromes. And you could watch Unsolicited Eye Vice's video so you could check out his demo, as again I had said, he applied all shadows from all 9pan palettes to get a better idea. But based off his reaction, he was shocked to see how sparkly and intense those duochromes are from a brand like Chanel. Okay, but I love Daring Muse. I don't know what it is about it. I guess because it's more of like a primary, as he had said too, he had described it as well. I guess I agree with him. This is more of like a primary palette since you have the black, red, not exactly green, but you have the silver and the gold. They just go well together. You know, it's like a sparkly Crayola crayon box, but make a Chanel shadow. And again, don't know if I'll pick up the Holiday Quad with those beautiful, like muted cool taupe seafoam, this light dusty blue. The shimmers are incredible. But if you are in NYC, I bought my palette from the Chanel Beauty Boutique in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. You could ask for Dominic. He was so kind in helping me that day. I actually texted him like, do you have these palettes? And he was like, yes, I got all three. I'm like, ooh, yes, hold them for me. He was nice enough to hold Space Traveler. Of course, I changed my mind when I got there, but the experience is great in the Chanel store. Unlike the Louis Vuitton boutique. But shout out to Michelle and Anais in the Louis Vuitton boutique because I actually visited there. Again, I'll let you know what I got in another video, but they were very nice. The comparison is that there's a little more freedom in the Chanel boutique where they all have testers and they kind of have their flow together when it comes to a luxury beauty customer going in there. That's why I think they have more of an easygoing policy when it comes to testing, and they have all the testers out. If you wanted to apply a lipstick, then one of the associates will just scrape some off and you can apply it, right? But there's just a lot more freedom for the customer in there to swatch the shadows, to swatch the lipsticks on your arm. If you want to try it on again, they'll get a little tester for you. There's a sink because like me, I'm like swatching everything and I'm like, oh boy, let's start from scratch, get it all off and keep swatching more colors and things. So definitely ask for Dominic if you wish to visit the Beauty Boutique. And I say that specifically because there are other locations in NYC that not only have the beauty, but they have the clothes, the shoes, and the pocketbooks. And those locations can get a little crowded, or they prevent it from getting crowded. That's why they ask you at the door what you're here for, so they can just control the traffic. But in the Beauty Boutique, is not that intense, so that's why I rather visit that location. But if you're able to visit the Chanel location in Williamsburg, tell Dominic I said hello and then I sent you. Maybe I'll see you there, you never know. If I'm gonna get another 9pan palette or another lipstick refill. Okay, the advantage Louis Vuitton has over the Chanel, in my opinion, personal bias, I do like the shades in Louis Vuitton more, so I'll end up buying more refills, and the Chanel refills are $90, by the way. They have satin and matte finishes. There might be 2 shades from the mattes that I have my eye on, and maybe just 1 from the satin. I'm not fiending for as many shades in the Chanel as I am in the Louis Vuitton, but I just say that because if you are only purchasing 1 color, and if you think it's worth the price to just have that 1 color, is this color worth $195? Not necessarily, because again, you've seen how many similar looking colors that I have. It's the case. I bought it for the case, for sure. The lipstick color, is bonus. And the fact that it doesn't have a strong taste or smell, completely shocked by that, and I'm still shocked by it. Shall we apply a little more? It's creamy on the application, but again, it settles into a soft matte finish. I love it. It's beautiful. Let me know if you plan to pick up anything from the Chanel holiday collection, be it the quad, one of the 9-pan palettes, if you're skipping entirely, if you already have this bougie ass lipstick, if you happen to have the same shade that I do, we'll love to know down below. And if you made it this far, please like this video by clicking the thumbs up. It helps me tremendously in letting the YouTube algorithm know that I'm worth watching and will continue to watch, and will also recommend my video to other beauty enthusiasts like yourself to watch. And consider subscribing if you like what you saw today and would like to see more content like it. Make sure you click that notification bell so you're notified of those uploads immediately. And if you're a returning subscriber, again, I thank you for your support and the watch. But if you are a first-time viewer, please stay, peruse more. Maybe I'll see you in this video here. I'll definitely see you in the comments for this one. And on here again next time.